Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned your subscription. What I'm going to talk about in today's video is I wanted to address a question that was posted on an earlier video by one of my viewers who wanted to know about magnet orientation in a P90 pickup. And specifically, this viewer had mentioned that he was not happy with the P90s that were equipped in the guitar he was playing. So he decided on his own that he would try some things to see if it would affect the tone. And the first thing he did was he flipped the polarity of the two magnets that are in the P90 pickup. Now, for those of you who don't know, a P90 has a single row of adjustable pull screws. And underneath the bobbin, where you can't see, you have two bar magnets. They're the same type of bar magnets that you would find in a humbucker, but a humbucker only has one bar magnet. A P90 has two, one on each side of the pull screws, and they are normally oriented so that the same pull is facing those screws. So if the pickup is going to be north polarity up, that's because the two magnets have their polarity, the north polarity, touching those screws. If you want south, you just flip the magnets over. And he did that, but he found that the difference in tone was barely noticeable. But then what he decided to do on a lark is he removed one of the magnets, and that had a significant impact on the tone, and he liked the way it sounded, but he wasn't sure really what was going on. Well, when you remove one of the magnets from a P90 pickup, you're essentially cutting the strength of the magnetic field in half. If you take a P90 pickup with both magnets and you test the strength of the, or measure the strength of the magnet using a Gauss meter, you would notice that as you checked each of those pull screws, you're going to probably get a Gauss reading. It can vary, but as an example, we'll say it's 650 Gauss. So you remove one of the magnets, and that same screw is going to test at about 300 to 325 Gauss. It's going to drop in half. So obviously, the magnetic field surrounding the pickup is going to be reduced by half if you remove one of those magnets. Now, the impact that that's going to have on tone is when you lower the Gauss of your magnets, or remove one of the magnets to artificially lower the Gauss, what happens is the tone will start to sound brighter and more open. It won't sound as dark or potentially muddy. However, you're also reducing the signal strength. So the pickup is not only going to sound more open and have more treble response, but it's going to sound a little bit quieter than it did when it had both the magnets in it. Now, another effect that will occur if you remove one of the magnets from your P90 is it's going to affect the level of inductance, because iron that is present in the components that we use to make the pickups, such as the magnets, the pull pieces, and the keeper bar, those all contain iron. So if you remove a component that contains iron, it's going to change the level of inductance. And typically when you change the level of inductance, it has an effect on tone. We can measure inductance, and from that measurement we can tell if the pickup is going to sound bright or it's going to sound dark. And in the case of removing a magnet from a P90, it's going to probably start to sound brighter and a little bit more open. And let's not forget about symmetry here. How does that impact the tone of a P90 pickup? Well, if you look at the P90 pickup as it's constructed, everything is symmetrical. You have that center row of adjustable pull pieces going right through the middle of the bobbin, and then underneath it you have a keeper bar that's right in the center, and then on either side you have the same size magnets. So everything is symmetrical. What that means is the magnetic field that's being generated is, for the most part, symmetrical. The only thing that might shift it slightly is the fact that the two magnets, even though they're both Alnico 5 or 2 or whatever, they're likely going to have slightly different Gauss readings, because it's difficult to get very exact and precise repeatable Gauss readings in a magnet. So the two magnets are likely to be a little bit different from one another, and that can affect the magnetic field. However, unless it's significantly different, it's probably not going to be something you can measure or will be able to hear when you play the guitar. But in theory, that is a possibility. So if you remove one of those magnets, you're going to change the shape of the magnetic field. It's no longer going to be symmetrical around the pickup. It's going to be different. And obviously, if it's not symmetrical and you've changed it, it's going to change the sound of the pickup as well. But what impact will that have? You really can't tell with your ears. It's something you would have to measure. And I don't think it's really worth the effort to measure it to understand what that difference is going to be. Besides the fact that when, as I've mentioned before, when you remove the magnet, you're reducing the Gauss level and you're also changing the inductance, and that's much more noticeable and definitely noticeable to the ears. But the shape of the magnetic field, it's not so clear and obvious. So if you don't like the sound of your P90 pickups, you may be wondering after watching this video, well, is it a good idea to remove one of the magnets and see what it sounds like? By all means, go for it. You can certainly do that. It's not going to hurt anything. However, because it is changing the shape of the magnetic field, and that is the one factor that is somewhat difficult to predict, it might be better instead, as an alternative, to either change the Gauss of the magnets if you have that capacity, if you can change the magnetic strength. And I've talked about this in other videos before. It's basically a process of exposing the magnet to a stronger magnet to reduce its Gauss level. It takes a little bit of knowledge and experience to do that, but you can reduce the Gauss of a magnet, which will in turn change the tone of the guitar. At the same time, you can also increase the Gauss and do the same thing, but in the other direction. So you can do that, but another easier alternative, if you don't have the ability to affect Gauss, is to simply replace the magnets that are in the pickup with a different type of magnet. So if your pickup is equipped with Alnico 5 magnets, you can simply replace them with a set of Alnico 2 magnets, or Alnico 3 or 4 or whichever. Magnets are fairly inexpensive, so even if you don't know what kind of magnet is in your pickup, you can probably purchase a number of different types and just kind of try different ones to see what they're going to sound like until you hit on a tone that you can appreciate and that you can live with. So I think that's a better way to go rather than pulling one of the magnets out of the pickup. So I hope this video has been educational and informative and that you get something out of it. If so, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, I hope I've earned your subscription. That's all I talk about on this channel, is building guitars. And as always, if you want to help support my channel so that I can keep making these videos, which I love to do, head over to eguitarplans.com. You can purchase plans for building guitars, for the tools that we use to make guitars. And you can also purchase a lot of those same plans from my YouTube merch shelf, which is displayed right below the description for this video. And you can also pick up some of the t-shirts that I sell as well. So until the next episode, as always, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for the next video.